Good day and welcome back to another tech tip. This week we're continuing our series on feedback in the run-up to exam week. And this week talking about what constitutes effective feedback. What does good feedback look like? Tracy?
Thank you, Dan. What's really interesting in the research on online education and what students perceive as good feedback is that it might be different than what we think of as good feedback. So traditional teachers, a lot of it, we spend a lot of time and we want to annotate and give tons and tons of feedback. And so to do that, it takes a couple of weeks. To our students, that feels like they're not getting enough feedback and they feel like a lot of times we don't care. But what the research shows helps us break it down into 3 steps that make it a lot easier to give the same amount of feedback, but in a much more efficient way so that students hear it and can take action. So the first part is making sure you give them a quick bit of immediate feedback right away. And it might be just a generic statement. Hey, I saw you submitted your paper. I'm looking forward to reading it. So that lets them know that all their hard work, you got it, you received it, so they can rest assured that they don't, it's not lost in the mail. That buys you time to give the other feedback. The next step in this method of giving a feedback is after you've read the papers and gotten a general sense, there are usually things that pretty much everybody gets right and everybody gets wrong. So you want to give general feedback to your whole class. It works great to do in a short video recording or an announcement and say to the whole class, hey, I noticed everybody did great on blah, 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 blah. However, I noticed that in this one area, based on the textbook, there were some gaps. So then you've also knocked out that big chunk. And then that just leaves you with giving a little bit of individualized feedback for what's left in those specific areas that you know can help those students make it to the next level or connect to their assignment. So again, short, immediate, hey, I got it, looking forward to it. General to everybody for those big bucket things so they can keep moving forward and they're not sitting and waiting. And then just small amounts on the individual sense. And then Kelly, I think you had some other really good advice on how to give that individualized stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. So always remembering to start with what have they done correct? What have they done right? What impressed you that made it engaging for you? And then leading into what could be good suggestions for improvements. What things do they look to either fix to resubmit or to make sure they're paying attention to for the next assignment? But modalities is an important part too. So we talked a little bit about this last week, if you want to go back and listen to that one. But if you give feedback with just writing and saying in text and things like that, it's great. Feedback is fabulous no matter how you get it. But it means so much more to a student if they can hear an intonation on occasion. So if you kind of mix up your modalities, it helps. If you want to do audio or you want to do a video in Canvas, you can do that right in SpeedGrader. It's a different meaning when you hear somebody say, that was a great paper. I really enjoyed it. What a great topic. And maybe improve on these things. It sounds different than if you write, that was a great paper, maybe improve these. It's just a different you receive it differently with a different intonation. So remember to mix up your modalities too, while you're offering your positive and your improvement feedback. Dan?
Thank you, Kelly. And bearing all that in mind, remember, there are also some options for more of an informal kind of feedback. You might have a draft version of an assignment and opportunities to submit a near final copy and provide feedback on that before submitting the final version. Another option are peer reviews, often for a written paper, essay, or report, something like that. In any case, we'd encourage you to make use of detailed rubrics for both of those things. Probably maybe the same one you might use when you're grading the final version. Bear in mind though, students are not necessarily content experts. So in those cases, it might be good to focus on mechanics, structure, flow, grammar, those kinds of things. And lastly, it's not a bad idea to incentivize the completion of those peer reviews, either through awarding of points or something like that. And don't be afraid to make it a significant chunk of the grade, right? Emphasize that these reviews are important. Feedback is a gift and a skill unto itself. Be sure to join us next week for part 3 of this series on feedback. Take care.